screen. I know.
Okay, it's all yours.
Okay, well, good morning again, or evening or afternoon. I'd like to thank Kishore Krishna for organizing this retreat. He had, of course, initially the idea of doing it at Sargari, but the virus got in the way, so to speak, and so here we are doing it online. And Padmanabh Swami was visiting the area of Sharanagati, so apparently he's been involved. I don't know what subjects he covered. I think he lectured at least once, maybe more during the retreat. I'm not sure. I've never been to a Japa retreat before, so I'm not sure what they involve. But I'll try to say a few words about Japa. Of course, very important. Once I was asked by a godbrother, how did I make so much advancement in spiritual life? Which is, of course, there's some generosity built into the question in my estimation, but I reflected for a moment and I replied to him from Japa. So it's been my experience that paying attention to Japa and giving it one's heart, so to speak, is very efficacious. Recently, a devotee asked me a question. He's about associating with me or something like that, getting some time with me, and I asked him, I believe I asked him, how was his Japa? And he admitted that he had kind of fallen off on his Japa. And I said, well, what can I do for you if you don't give your heart to the chanting of Japa? We, of course, in Gaudiya Vaishnavism make a commitment to Japa in terms of a number of rounds and so forth. And the spirit behind that is the vrata, the vow, particularly the vow with regard to our faith, that's eligibility for bhakti, corresponding with Sharanagati, and Sharanagati being kind of the outward expression or evidence of one's faith. It's sixfold, and one aspect of that Sharanagati is accepting what's favorable to bhakti, rejecting what's favorable. The mood behind that aspect of Sharanagati is a commitment, a promise. Bhakti Vinod speaks of it, a vow. So we accept a vow to chant, so many names on a consistent basis and so forth. And if we are not attentive to that, and our commitment is not upheld, well, to what extent are we a Sharanagata? What is the measure of our faith, and how eligible are we even to tread the path? So it's very important. And I, as a young man, took it very, very seriously. Sit down. I mean, the whole idea is to sit down and concentrate. People's minds wander, of course, and that's a problem, but your mind much reflects or follows your heart. So wherever your heart is, that's where your mind will go. So if you in a heartfelt way, which is what Prabhupada always recommended, give yourself to the name Japa, then the mind should follow. So it's really not a tongue exercise or an ear exercise, but a heart exercise, properly understood. So a few words there. That said, more technically speaking, of course, the term Japa, it appears in the Gita, where Krishna says that among sacrifices, I am Japa. So it's been made a central focus of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching, and appropriately so. The word japa comes from the verbal root jap, which means to utter repeatedly. And of course, with reference to a mantra, or in this case, nam japa. And it's a practice that is quite widespread, so to speak. I mean, beyond Gaudiya Vaishnavism, obviously, it has a role in other forms of Vaishnavism and outside of Vaishnavism, in Buddhism and Christianity and in Islamic faith and so forth. There's something or expressions of what we would refer to as japa, the Christian rosary. Muslims have, I think, 99 names of God. They have beads that they chant them on, and so on and so forth. So it's quite a widespread practice, and that practice being to utter repeatedly sound, the name of God, a sacred sound. Okay, again, in our case, it's names of God. Within just etymologically speaking, within the word japa, also we have ja and pa, which ja means birth, and pa means impiety. And so the implication is that by the repeated utterance, in this case of the name of God, birth, which is a problem, will be overcome, and any impiety or sin, papa, as well. So built into the name is the power that the utterance the performance of japa has within it inherently. There are, of course, different types of japa within our own tradition. That means that there are 4 types. It can be done verbally, it can be done inaudibly to others, but audible to oneself, more or less a whisper, and it can be done mentally, and it can also be done likita, or writing. So there are japa banks or libraries, maybe you want to call them, for example, in Vrindavan, that probably most of the Western devotees don't know about, but there are sadhus and quite a number of serious and usually elderly householders that will log into the japa bank and then write out the Maha Mantra for an hour. It's a powerful form of japa. You might try it. It may be helpful in terms of resting the mind. Write the Hare Krishna mantra 1,000 times, or the equivalent of a number of rounds that you've committed to, and so forth. Otherwise, again, technically, within the 4 forms, at least, we know that it's said that Haridas Thakur, we know that he chanted 300,000 names. That's or is it 3 lakhs of rounds, and sometimes it's reasoned thought, or the oral tradition tells us that he did 3 rounds, or 1 lakh out loud, verbally, 1 whispering, and 1 mentally. Sometimes the devotees ask which is best, and of course sometimes it's described verbally is exceeded in excellence by whispering, which is exceeded by mental japa. But really, There's different ways to look at that. All that means, that particular way of evaluating, is that the objective in the japa is to have the mind absorbed. So if the mind is absorbed, well, they're successful, and you can do mental japa. But of course, there's also something to be said for chanting out loud, because other people will also hear and be benefited thereby. And if you benefit others, then of course you're benefited. So there's different ways to look at that. And if the japa is mental, then it becomes a sub-anga of the principal anga smaranam. Among the principal angas or limbs of bhakti, smaranam, and shravanam, and kirtanam, meditation, hearing, and chanting are primary. Archan also. But the Bhagavatam emphasizes these three. So japa can come under smaranam when it's manasik, in the mind, but when it's done out loud, vajasik, then it becomes a sub-anga of kirtan. So because of the efficacy of kirtan, because of the role of kirtan in Kali Yuga and so forth, then one can also make the argument that the best form of japa is vajasik, which means out loud. So there's different ways to think about that. Conclusively, the best way is the way that works best for you. We find that Rupa Goswami gives a beautiful description of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanting loudly, which in his Chaitanya Astakam, he describes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he is walking really from Navadvip to Puri, which is something he didn't directly experience, but the descriptions of that must have come from Gadadhar Pandit, from Nityananda Prabhu, others who accompanied him on that journey. And again, in Chaitanya Astakam, he gives a beautiful description of him chanting loudly the Maha Mantra, describing him, of course, his arms extended to his knees, his eyes extending to his ears, practically. Extraordinary, that is to say, bodily features. And from his mouth, uttering loudly the Hare Krishna mantra while keeping a count on a string tied around his waist, consisting of knots. So counting on the knots on a string or on a rope or a piece of cloth, and Vachasik loudly chanting the Maha Mantra, of course, is we'll have to discuss that to some extent, that which he chanted. So again, there's some emphasis on chanting out loud. As far as counting goes, then typically, of course, as you know, there's 108 beads on the Japa Mala, 109, but the 109th one is not chanted on. And someone might ask, devotees have asked at times, what is the meaning of 108 beads? And it's interesting that the number 108 as cross-culturally is significant, especially in pre-scientific times. There's paragraphs and paragraphs about it, significance of the number 8 in different religious and even secular traditions. But to name a few, for example, in the Sanskrit languages consist of 54 letters, and each has a feminine and a masculine application. So 108 is thought of as a significant number with regard to the Sanskrit alphabet and all that all the power that it has, if you will. And it's thought of in a Buddhist sect. There's another interesting one, that all of the I want to say desires of mortals is comes to 108. Hmm? How you might think they're more than 108 desires, but the way they arrive at that number is that if you take the six senses, including the mind, and then you you multiply that times times whether the pleasures that are, or feelings, let's say, that are pleasant, that are those that are unpleasant, and those that are neutral. So that you have your 6 times 3, and then you multiply that number times 2, which the 2 represents external or internal pleasures. And then if you multiply that number times 3 in terms of past, present, future, you get 108. So, so it's another example of the significance of the number. Cosmologically, it's thought that the sun, diameter of the sun is 108 times that of the Earth. The diameter of the moon times 108 is the distance between the moon and the Earth, and so on. So if you look at mathematics and you want to arrive at the golden ratio, 108 degrees is part of the equation. And there's many ways, but of course, again, I guess we're going to conclude with this, that death occurs at 108 degrees. So the 108 beads on the mala for japa, that can bring about an end to death and released. And of course, if we go to Gaudiya Vaishnavism directly, as we should, then typically the 108 beads have 2 different meanings. The most prominent meaning is that 108 beads represent 108 gopis. So the principal 108 gopis, and then there's Krishna bead. The 108 are dancing around with Krishna, so to speak. And often then you find on the mala, after 8 beads, there'll be a marker, which represents within the 108 principal gopis. That's a very prominent in Madhurya Rasa perspective. Talking about that once, Prabhupada said that the mantra, the beads represent 108 gopis, but Krishna, he said, has a mala that represents 108 cows that he chants on. He didn't elaborate, but I will for your benefit and my own. So that's another way of thinking about them. And in that case, then the beads will be marked instead of after 8, after 12 with a marker representing the 12 principal associates of Krishna and Balaram in Sakyarasa. Every day in the afternoon, prior to returning home to the village, of course, then Krishna will take out his mala, and he has 108 different groups of cows. There are white cows and black cows and yellow cows and red cows, and 25 groups of white, 25 groups of yellow, 25 groups of black, 25 groups of red. So that together makes 100. And then there are 8 different groups of speckled cows or other cows, differently configured, sometimes described as whose heads are the shape of a mridanga, or more like shape of a lion. This way there are 108 groups of cows, and Krishna calls the leader of, you might not know that, but there's a leader in every herd of cows, a cow leader, not a bull leader. And recently, in recent times, we went to a dairy. There's a dairy, organic dairy, where we've gotten all of our cows here at Aldaria. In recent times, we went to the dairy and to acquire a cow. And we have a method of looking at their periods of lactation, by which we determine which cow to purchase. Looking for one that has a yield that is more consistent rather than up and down, that one that will extend over a longer period of time. We've been successful at finding such cows. One of our cows here, some of you may know, Shamala, she's been milking for about 4 gallons a day for about 10 years. So, so at any rate, we looked at the records and we picked out a cow. And sure enough, the dairyman said that's the lead cow in the whole herd. She's the leader of the whole herd. So she's here. Her name is Aruni, and quite happy. So anyway, Krishna chants and calls the names on his beads of each of the groups of cows, and so they all assemble. Then within that, each cow has a name. Of course, he knows the name of every single cow. So sometimes in Sakiras, it's looked at in this way. The beads represent 108 groups of cows, and then amongst the cow herds, 12 of them are significant, the Dwadasa Gopal, corresponding with the Astasakis. In oral tradition, you may know, it's thought by some Vaishnavas, not everyone would agree with this, but that the Astasakis, principal gopis, are all relatives of Radha. That means that they are daughters of the brothers of Nanda Maharaj. And the Dwadasa Gopals are also all relatives of Radha, being sons of the different brothers of Nanda Maharaj's extended family. So that said, we go to the mantra itself, right? From some thoughts about japa as an exercise and some of the technical details of, again, why we use beads and what the meaning of japa is and so forth, to the mantra itself. And of course, we do the japa of the Hare Krishna mantra, and that was recommended by Mahaprabhu, but the scriptural origin of that mantra is important to think about. And of course, it is found in I think, the 103rd of the list of 108 Upanishads, the Kali Santarana Upanishad. So Kali, of course, refers to Kali Yuga, and the word Kali means hypocrisy and contention, discord, strife. As you well know, one may question, and I think somebody asked this last week, Eric, I think, about yuga cycles and these long periods of time as thought of in Hindu cosmology, and how to think about that in relation to modern understanding of time and humanity on Earth, and so on and so forth. So we discussed that. I also pointed to the fact that I've dealt with it also in my book, Sacred Preface. But aside from that, of course, it's difficult to argue with the idea that the quality of the time that we are presently experiencing is one of discord, strife, argumentation, and leadership, if you will, that's compromised and lacking in character and the ability to inspire by example, and so forth, which is what Kali Yuga is about. So it's hard to argue that we don't live in the quality of time that the scripture speaks about with reference to the word Kali Yuga. And so Kali Santarana. Santarana means to cross. So to completely cross over Upanishad. This is the Upanishad about how to completely cross over the ocean of discord that Kali Yuga constitutes. And the question in that Upanishad comes from Narada, and he asks his father Brahma, what is the means to cross over the influence of Kali Yuga? And Brahma answers a very particular, specific answer. He says, Iti sodasakam namna kalikam ashanashanam. And he says, Sarvavedeshu Drishite. He says that by the chanting of these 16 names, of course, it's 3 names, but Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare is 16, utterance of 16 names in a particular formula. And he says that by this, he said initially by Nam, Kirtan, and Nard asked for more detail. And so Brahma gave the detail, these 16 names. So the Mahamantra, as it's referred to in other texts, in the Brahma Purana, the Brahmanda Purana, and the Agni Purana, also in a section connected with the Shiva Purana, we find mention of the Hare Krishna mantra, and in some of these texts, it's referred to as the Mahamantra. So Brahma said this mantra in particular, consisting of 16 names, has efficacy in Kali Yuga for delivering. It's Taraka Brahmanam, the Nam that delivers one. Taraka crosses, helps us cross over the ocean of birth and death and all the difficulties and distractions of Kali Yuga. And Sarvavedeshu Drishite, he says that this is supported by all the scripture. So from Brahma's perspective, there's a way of analyzing the scripture. And this is what the Goswamis did practically, such that it all comes to not only bhakti, but kirtan and the kirtan of Krishna Nam. Rupa Goswami has made this point nicely and poetically in his Namastakam, where he describes the different illuminating sounds of the Upanishads as jewels that cast off an effulgence of light. And if you follow the light of those jewels, they're all really pointing with the veneration to the sound, the one sound of 2 syllables, Krishna, who the utterance of which far exceeds the result that can be derived from any of the Vakyas, the great sounds of the Upanishads themselves. They are all in awe of that. They're all worshiping that. The Vedanta Sutra and commentary that seeks to demonstrate what the Upanishads are saying, that there's a concerted message there. Because if you don't understand it properly, it may sound like it's talking about this and that, and so many, just a jungle of sounds, Pujapad Sridhar Maharaj once compared it to. So the sutras are meant to show that there's a concerted message being broadcast here. And our commentary on Vedanta Sutra as Gaudiya is, of course, the Govinda Bhashya of Baladevi Vibhushan. And the concluding sutra is, what is that?
Anabritihi Shabdat.
What is it? What again?
Anabritihi Shabdat.
Anabriti Shabda. Anabriti Shabda. Anabritihi Shabdat. So it's repeated twice that that by the sound, one can cross over, so to speak, and become free from birth and death. And there's some theologizing then as to the idea that here the scripture is speaking about this sound, the efficacy of Nam. So really simplifying everything, if you will, bringing it down to one sound, Krishna Nam. And another way, Jiva Goswami has spoke about it in Jaiva Dharma, or excuse me, in Bhakti Sandarbha. And he attributes a verse that he cites to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without any further reference, but he says there, Shrotam api upanishadam dure harikatamrita, that dure means far, where you can go with the Krishna Nam, here we'll look at it like this, is very far and deeper in penetration into transcendence than you can, where you can arrive at by the sounds of the Upanishad. And then the second half of the verse speaks about the sattvika bhavas, weeping and revelation and fainting and so on and so forth, that are characteristic really of the Brajbasis, the associates of Krishna in Golok, in their most extreme form. So from the Upanishad of Brahma, it's significant that we received, so to speak, our Diksha mantra. We know the history of that. The Diksha mantra is, the main Diksha mantra of Gaudiya Sampradaya is the Gopal mantra, 18-syllable Krishna mantra, sometimes referred to as the Gopal mantra. And this we got from Brahma, who got it from Krishna at the dawn of creation. It's described in the Gopal Tapani Upanishad, in the Bhagavatam, in the Brahma Samhita. Krishna imparted this mantra to Brahma, initiated him. So that's our main mantra. And here we find, so we got it from Brahma, so to speak. Sometimes we refer to our sampradaya as the Brahma Sampradaya, Brahma to Madhva to Gaudiya to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Here we also get the Maha Mantra. Of course, Brahma's understanding of the implications and the farthest reach and efficacy of the Maha Mantra were later to be realized by him, but he did give it to Brahma, to Nard, and of course Nard is depicted as going everywhere and chanting Krishna Nam, Nard Muni Bhajavina Radhika Ramana Name, wherever he goes. So this is a pretty well documented scripturally practice that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu drew from as his central main practice and the method, if you will, as I sometimes say, to his madness. We find that, interestingly, that Brahma gave the mantra, but as I mentioned, it took him time to realize the full measure of its power and efficacy. And in the course of his life, as described in the sacred texts, our particular Brahma, who's a devotee, he is brought by Krishna during the Prakat Leela, during his manifest Leela, to learn further about the implications of the mantra that he received at the dawn of creation and what it means to be a friend of Krishna in the fullest sense. Because in the Bhagavatam in particular, it's described that in the text itself, that Brahma sought a friendly relationship with Krishna. Sakyam, the term verse is used, which of course is not a relationship that you can have with Narayan. The Purusha, Narayan, appeared before Brahma, who was the source, his navel is the source of the lotus on which Brahma is born, and coming in touch with his source, which was his pursuit, he met the Purusha, Garbhodakshay Vishnu in this case. And then the Purusha showed himself, or Krishna, whose expansion is the Purusha, showed himself before Brahma in Gopavesh, dressed as a Gopa. But there he was holding his hand with the Gyan Mudra and giving Upanishadic wisdom gave him the Chatur Shlok, the 4 verses, gave him the mantra, and so forth. Very much, although in the dress of a cowherd, which is peculiar, compared to Narayan, who's very regally dressed, opulent, and awe-inspiring, rather than you might miss him or wonder if you don't miss him because he's just dressed like a cowherd, you think, oh, there's a lower class person. An uneducated country bumpkin, so to speak. So there he was, but speaking wisely and holding his hand in the Gyan Mudra and so forth. So what does it mean then to be a friend? Krishna had to show him at some point. This was the offer, so to speak, from Krishna, who extended his hand, touched him, embraced him. Something you wouldn't expect from Narayan, to come and reach out, pat you on the head, or embrace you, or as Prabhupada explains it, shook hands with him. And again, gave him a samskar for Sakirasa. So Brahma was called then during the Braja Leela by the omniscience of the cowherd Krishna, in the midst of his mugdha being on the surface, preoccupied with his friends and unaware of his omniscience. These two, his sweetness, his charm, his madhurya, and his omniscience are functioning at the same time. In Braj, the forgetfulness of his godhood is prominent, but it's not lost. So it surfaces that omniscience at times that's useful for the Leela, in which many things are being accomplished. So one of the things that's being accomplished in Krishna Leela is lessons for sadhakas. It's a great blessing, right? So we can learn from the Leela itself lessons that we can apply in our own sadhana, that we may then enter into the Leela. And so in this context, the Brahma Vimohan Leela has, in terms of the omniscience of Krishna, a lesson for the sadhaka Brahma. It's questioned in Raghavartma Chandrika of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that if on the Ragmarg, which is the pursuit of the Vrindavan Leela, to enter there, if our Godhead is absorbed in Leela, thinking himself a cowherd boy, or wondering how he can make a connection with Radha, and so absorbed in this way, overwhelmed by the prema of such devotees, how can he hear our prayers, sadhakas? Maybe we should pray to the Paramatma, or so forth. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that no, as I've said just moments before, the omniscience of Krishna doesn't disappear when he's overwhelmed by prema. It's there, and it can hear the prayers of the sadhakas. So you have to think, what does sadhana mean? This is your God is Krishna, and you want to attract his attention. Well, his attention is completely taken by persons who are endowed with a special type of serving disposition that the gods are fascinated by, in awe of, in reverence of. And so how are we going to get his attention? Well, you have to do your japa from the heart. You have to give yourself entirely in the heart to the japa, in terms of this aspect about our sadhana. You expect to get his attention, but it's possible because his omniscience is not, hasn't disappeared. It's still there. So the omniscience is functioning in this Brahma Vimohan Leela in relation to the sadhana of Brahma. And now Brahma is being brought into the Leela kind of as an outsider to have a darshan, a view of this, and see what is the nature, characteristic of the Ashraya Lambana, to see the Vishaya Lambana and the Ashraya Lambana, to see Krishna, the Vishaya Lambana, the object of Sakya Rasa, in full form, He was in Gopavesh when he gave the mantra, but now he's dressed like a Gopa. Gopavesh means dressed like a Gopa, and he's acting like a Gopa. He's not holding his hand in the Gyan mudra. In fact, he's holding rice and fruit in his left hand and putting it in the mouth of his friends and taking food from their mouth and putting it in his mouth. And this is quite bewildering to Brahma, who's known by the name of Vidhi, means he very properly conducts himself by Brahminical standards and so forth. And here's a village person who's like not conducting himself such and questionable in terms of being someone that you can learn anything from. And so but this is the full picture, face of the object of love in the fullest expression of Sakirasa. And then the counterpoise are the fullest expression of the shelter, the Ashraya, the embodiment of that love. So in order to taste Bhakti Rasa of Sakirasa, which is the objective of Brahma, arguably, then he has to become acquainted with these different elements of what constitutes Sakirasa. He has to locate that rasa in terms of the object of love and the example of the shelter of that love. So he's brought in to see that. Of course, he sees their anubhavs, he sees their sattvika bhavs, and so forth, their sanchari bhavs. And so now he's becoming acquainted, hands-on, with the ingredients of bhakti rasa. And it's a little overwhelming to him. And mentally, he makes an offense to the form of Krishna, thinking perhaps this is an imposter of my guru, who looked like this, but he's like this at the same time. And this fellow's dressed like my guru, but he's acting in ways that might be considered unsophisticated and inappropriate, and not an example, not setting an example as a teacher should. And so then, of course, Brahma Krishna reveals to him the facts in the Brahma Vimohan Leela, but there is an aftermath of this. And what is the aftermath of this? Well, Brahma has offended the form of Krishna. What's the recourse? If we offend the form of Krishna, we have recourse to taking shelter of the name of Krishna, because while the name of Krishna is non-different from the form of Krishna, the name and the named are binatvam namanamino. They're one and the same. But at the same time, there's a difference. What is the difference? The name is more merciful. Therefore, if you offend the form, the name will still stay with you. So don't offend the name. How then did the name stay with him? Well, we have Brahma Haridas. It's mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam that Shiva Nichinutam Sharanyam. This Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes, and that time Shiva and Brahma also come with him. Haridas was an outcast, and as such, he didn't conduct himself by Hindu standards. He didn't know the language of ritual, sacred ritual, which in the realm of ritual, which is a kind of a meeting place between the eternal and the temporal. And there's a certain language and way to conduct oneself, to approach the form of God, Archan, form the deity, right? We don't just walk up to the deity and say, hey, Krishna, here's some rice. We say, idam naivedam klim krishnaya namaha, and so forth. So this is there's a certain language and etiquette and way to conduct oneself in the realm of ritual. And he was unaware of this. Muslims, of course, in India, unfortunately, when they invaded, one of the first things that they did was to attempt to destroy the deities, because there's a fundamentalist perspective on the Islamic faith that the perspective is that the form of God has no form. So these people have forms of God, they should be destroyed. It's kind of like the Christian idea that one should not have, worship false gods before me. And I think there's a story in the Bible that they were worshiping golden cows or something like that. and that Jesus spoke against that. Of course, this is a misunderstanding in that the deity is not an idea, an idol, that not something that has risen out of the fabric of the conditioned mind. It's something that's described in Revelation, in the sacred text, where the mantra that corresponds with the form comes from as well. And so, and then that form of God is to be worshipped in a particular way, with mantra that corresponds with him, and procedures, and so on and so forth. So it's not something, it's just not something we've made up and worshipped. So anyway, they were, one of the characteristics, and unfortunately, of the Muslim invasion was, on the part of some of the leaders, was to defile, desecrate the deities. Therefore, we find the deities of Vrindavan, Sri Madan Mohanji, Govindaji, Gopinath, escaping by their, showing that they're not a stone, that they're not just a mental idea. If it's your ideas coming from the mind, it won't last, that's for sure. But these deities, they lasted. In the face of the invasion of the Muslims, then they created ways such that their devotees would be able to transfer them secretly to Rajasthan, to Jaipur, and so forth. You know a little bit the history of the deities. Some nice stories in this regard related in Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Swami and Mahaprabhu both at different times came to have the darshan of Gopalji. Then he arranged to come down from the mountain Govardhan, where they dared not tread out of reverence to Govardhan, under the arrangement of the deity of an attack by the Muslims. And the deity informing in a dream, the Pujari, take me somewhere else, and to where they took the deity. Then Rupa Goswami and Mahaprabhu were able to have the darshan. So these deities, again, they're not ideas coming out of the mind. But at any rate, Brahma took birth as a Muslim, is the idea. And in a sect where there's a strong tendency to offend the form of God, and there's no knowledge or understanding how to approach that form and behave and conduct oneself accordingly. All the different rules and regulations concerning deity worship, we may think them to be a botheration or wonder about them, but this is a different realm. This is the realm of ritual. This is the language there. This is the procedures there, and so forth. One should learn them. It's very, very compelling. It's very spiritually pleasing environment to be within. And of course, there the deity is symbolic. I don't mean to say that he's symbolic of an impersonal reality, but it's symbolic of the person of Krishna. He doesn't seem to talk for the most part. If he did, you'd be in trouble, because then he would ask for so many things that you would have no time for anything else. He's very generous to give you a little rope, a little time of your own. But the object, of course, is to get him to start talking. So at any rate, Brahma offended the form of Krishna. He was born as a Muslim, but he was born as a Muslim and had the association of Sri Advaita Acharya, who brought the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the world. He's called Advaita because he took Radha and Krishna and put them together and brought them in one form, Advaita, non-dual, and who taught the non-dual Achintya Bheda philosophy, Advaita Gyan Tattva, the metaphysic of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And this person, as he's referred to repeatedly, Brahma Haridas, he became known by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's own blessing as the Nam Acharya. So the point is what? That he offended the form, but the name stayed with him. And through the name alone, without even entering into the realm of ritual, through the name alone, he became, he perfected his pursuit, arguably, of Sakyarasa. It's said that Advaita brought Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through Vidhi, through Archan, and that Namacharya Haridas, who got initiated by Advaita in the chanting of the name, brought him through Nam Bhajan. Haridas, throughout his life, was not allowed to go into the Jagannath temple. Not that it was right, but by the rules of the time. So again, the form, of course, we shouldn't offend the form, but if we do, well, we have recourse to the mercy of the name, which is not different from the form, but more merciful. So it's a little bit interesting to note that the Gopal mantra, the Diksha mantra, and the Maha mantra that we have both come from Brahma in pursuit, as he was, of Sakyaras, which he became perfected in Gaur Lila as the Namacharya. Mahaprabhu pointed to him as that person who best exemplifies how to perfect the Japa Yajna. Again, we referred to him earlier. He chanted 300,000, 3 lakhs, verbally, whispering, and mentally. We don't know that he wrote it down, but typically in the Premadvani, when we say the prayers after the Artik, in all the sects of Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and you're going to find Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. So that said, then, of course, well, maybe to continue on that for a moment, also the efficacy of bhakti over gyan, over knowledge, with regard to karma is considerable, in that gyan cannot remove the manifest karma, the prarabdha karma. It doesn't have the power to destroy prarabdha karma. That has to play itself out. So in gyan, the jiva unmukta, who becomes liberated from all previous karma, or karma that is distilling and gestating, or what would be the word, hasn't yet manifest as prarabdha, that can all be done away with by gyan. Avidya is the source of ignorance, is the source of our suffering, the karmic implications. So by gyan, you can overturn avidya. Obviously, knowledge is the opposite of ignorance. But karma, that ignorance is already manifest, already playing itself out, well, you have to just wait for that to play itself out. So the jiva mukta in gyan, who's liberated in his body, he will not react to the prarabdha karma, plug into it and perpetuate it. Just wait for it to expire, and death comes, and that's then he's thought to attain mukti. Karma's gone. But the efficacy of bhakti is such, as the Bhagavatam nicely explains, that it has the power to destroy manifest karma, prarabdha karma. How can you change the prarabdha karma of who your parents are, one might ask? Bhakti can do that. It gives you another set of parents. In Bhava Bhakti, you get another set of parents. Gyan cannot do that, just to give you an example. It can give you family, friends, society, and love, all of which is your prarabdha karma. It can replace it by giving you entrance into Krishna Lila. You have a mother, father there. In the general sense, we'll accept, like Gopakumar, Yashoda as his mother, who embraced him as such, as she does all the coward boys, and then pointed him in the direction of Vrishabhanupur, Barshana, and where he would reside in Radharani's family and so forth. There on that side, we have Kirtida and Vrishabhanu Raj. So in the broadest sense, these are the fathers and mothers, Nanda and Yashoda, Vrishabhanu and Kirtida of Braj. And then within that, further details will be the extension, really, of your own bhava in Madhurya Rasa or in Sakyarasa. So Brahma, Haridas, he showed that by Japa, which was his constant preoccupation, he embraced this one anga, and he became perfect, right? And we see that at the end of his life, what happened? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu picked up his body and danced with it in his arms. The deceased bodily remains of Haridas Thakur. And then, with his own two very large lotus hands, he began at least to dig within the sand and make a tomb to place the body. We call it a samadhi to honor the fact that in this case Haridas had entered into the trance world, never to come out again. And the body was used for that purpose only. So it itself, that sadhaka deha, is worshipable. So what Mahaprabhu was showing there is that the parabdha karma of Haridas was destroyed by nam, by bhakti in a form, in the anga of japa or kirtan. In other words, his body became worshipable, so it's no longer a body of prarabdha karma. So the full efficacy, as I say, of the japa we find in Brahma Haridas, and that efficacy, of course, reaches beyond merely the destruction of karma, all forms of karma, including prarabdha karma. When Brahma spoke the Mahamantra to Narad in the Kali Santarana Upanishad, he described it as the Taraka Brahmanam, that spiritual name by which you can cross over, again, Santarana, the Kali Yuga. So you can cross over. So Taraka Brahmanam. But this Taraka Brahmanam was embraced by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as we've said. He didn't just make it up, okay? So he's referring to the Kali Santarana Upanishad and to a very central teaching, Sarvabheda Isharishite. It's if you look carefully, you find all the scriptures are supporting this, that in Kali Yuga, this chanting is the means, and this particular combination of names and nam mantra has most power, is most efficacious. So Mahaprabhu drew from this and told his followers to chant in kirtan and in japa, and of course, when Mahaprabhu then takes the name, the Taraka Brahmanam, it becomes Paraka Brahmanam. So Rupa Goswami has described in Padyavali this Taraka and Paraka in a verse, I believe, of his own, that is a glorification of residence in Mathura. That if you live in the district of Mathura, Mathura Vas, which is one of the powerful angas of bhakti that he recommends, either physically live there or mentally, then in his verse he uses these two terms, Taraka and Paraka. You can be liberated. Indeed, it's a liberated place. And Paraka. Furthermore, you can attain the prema of the Mathura Mandal of Braj. So there's the Taraka refers more to removing the negative implications of karma that don't let us cross over birth and death. And Paraka speaks of a positive, in the extreme, ideal that to be attained, which is the Prem Purushottam, what is the word?
Panchama Purushartha?
Yeah, Purushartha, yeah. Purushartha. This is the fifth goal of life. You have Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and then praying. Beyond moksha. Salokya Shasti Samipi Sarupi. All these forms of liberation, there's 5 forms. They pertain to Brahma Sayuja or Vaikuntha Loka, but not to Goloka, that hidden realm, not to Maha Vaikuntha Goloka. There are people in Vaikuntha who have prema, There are people in Goloka, in Vaikuntha that don't have prema. There's different ways to get there. By karma mishra bhakti, by gyan mishra bhakti, in pursuit of the perks of Salokya, Sarsti, to live on the same planet as God. Sounds like a great idea. I want that. There are those who live there that don't want that, but accept that because that's part of being there. There are those that have Shantarasa, those that have no rasa, those that have Dasirasa, Samipya, attend to Narayan personally and so forth. But beyond this is Golok. It looks peculiar to the inhabitants of Vaikuntha. They have to think of it as kind of a quirky side of Narayan that he shows every now and then. And not something that they can personally participate in. But there is such a place that one can go. It's a hidden place. And Mahaprabhu was taking us there through his conception, the faith that he has behind the name. So it's said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the Nam Sankirtan, which, speaking loudly, of course, in Japa, this is a form of Japa. He took this Nam Sankirtan and he wove it together in a wreath with prema. And this is what he's given to the world. And this is what Raghunath Das Goswami is speaking of when he says, Nam Shreshtam Api Sachiputram. He says, my Guru has given me the name that behind which is the conception of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Sachi, Nama Shreshtam, the fullest idea, notion, or the most that can be derived from the name. It's a kind of a universal Mahamantra. You can get liberation by it. Many things can be accomplished by it. But the fullest measure of its, what it affords us is the attainment of Krishna Prem, Krishna Prem in particular. We find, I mentioned the reference to Kali Santarana Upanishad, and there I mentioned other Puranas it's mentioned as well, one of which is the subsection of the Purana, Shiva Purana, interestingly, which is the Sanat Kumar Samhita. And there's the fullest efficacy, if you will, of Nam is also, we find a scriptural reference to it in a broader sense. There the Maha Mantra is given, and there a dhyan or a meditation or a visualization to accompany the name is given in Sanat Kumar Samhita. And that visualization is to visualize Krishna sporting along the Jamuna, or in the cooling waters of the Jamuna, or under there's a different option, under the shade of a kadamba tree in Vrindavan, surrounded by cows, by gopas, accompanied by Radha, standing in his threefold bending form. So what this visualization, this is a seed of course, is there is Krishna in this particular form in the setting of Vrindavan, along with gopas and Radha or gopis. So we have now this opportunity of Sakya Rasa, of Madhurya Rasa, and the mention of the associates, of course, is very important. Because if you want from Nam to get the Rupa, to become acquainted with the form of Krishna, and the Guna, the qualities of Krishna, and the Leela, ultimately, of Krishna, that has to include the Parikar, the Parshad, the associates of Krishna. What does Vrindavan Das or Krishna Das say in his Abhideya Sloka, glorifying Radha Govinda?
Sivyamanosmarami.
Sivyamanosmarami.
Vrindaranya kalpadrumada.
That he gives a similar idea. Here is Radha and Krishna surrounded by their associates, sitting on a throne, jeweled throne under a desire tree. And those associates are endowed, right, with a particular serving attitude. Brahma Samhita says, Krishna is surrounded by not one Lakshmi, but the hundreds, thousands of Lakshmis. In quantity, there's a difference, and in quality, the quality of their service is different. Lakshmi Sahasrasata Sambrama Sevimanu. Special kind of serving disposition. This is with reference to praying. So the Shiva Purana subsection here is giving some emphasis on the associates who are to be followed, their example, whose ideal we're attracted to. That they're loving Krishna like this, they've captured Krishna. They embody that power to completely overwhelm Krishna, turn the absolute into a friend, into a lover, make that all-pervasive, all-knowing Brahman move and dance and appear unknowing, as much as the knowing would get in the way of the intimacy and so forth. So this, then, of course, is the farthest reach of the mantra, the Nama Shreshta that Raghunath Das Goswami refers to. That type of love that the mantra gives is also sometimes referred to as samartha, competent love. Paraka, the word paraka can be thought of as a derivative of parayati, which means qualified or more competent. So from Taraka Brahmanam, a name, conception of the name that delivers one from ignorance, to Paraka Brahmanam, that has the competence, the power to overwhelm Krishna. In Madhurya Rasa, we have Sadarani, Samanjasa, and Samartha forms of romantic love. So Samanjana refers to it means proper love. So the queens of Dwarka have this kind of proper love of Krishna. They're married to him, there's some formality and so forth. Sadarani means ordinary. So this is the case of Kubja. She had ordinary desires for Krishna. She got love for him. But Samartha refers to the love of Braj that has the power to completely captivate him, conquer him. And this Keval Samartha also is a term used by Nanda Thakur to describe the bhava of the Priya Sakas, and of course it would refer to the Priya Narmasakas as well, friends of Krishna. This competent type of love. That type of love with Sakyarasa, of course, when compared to the love of Arjuna, Draupadi, the Pandavas, Pura Sambandhi, it doesn't have the same power to captivate Krishna as the Vrindavan friends do. So this is the power, the efficacy, the furthest reach that we find in a Mahamantra given by Mahaprabhu. And from that, I think we've talked a while, but maybe to say something about the names in the mantra. Sometimes people ask, what does it mean? What's the translation? Well, these are just really names of Krishna. Hari is a name for Krishna, who steals your heart. It's the favorite name of the Brajbasis of Krishna, some say, everyone, all of whose hearts have been stolen by him. That's the reality. So Hari and Krishna, of course, is a name given to him at the Namkar, the name giving ceremony, and Ram is another name for Krishna, who's to enjoy love, and so the Mahamantra is made up of names of Krishna. Raghunath Das Goswami has written a book, Sri Harinam Artha Ratnadipika, and there he explains that sometimes when feeling separation from Krishna and pining for, meditating on meeting him again in order to free herself from the pangs of separation, that she chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So what does it mean? When Radharani is chanting the Maha Mantra, obviously all the names, the three names, all refer to Krishna. So what is the meaning? That depends. It has a lot of different meanings. There's also the idea for sadhakas that the name Hari is also the vocative of Hara, which is a reference then to the Shakti of Bhagavan rather than Bhagavan himself. And in this way, it can be a reference to Radha. Obviously, when Radharani chants the Maha Mantra, Hari means Hari. It doesn't mean her. But some of our founding acharyas have also given this explanation of the name, wherein the name Hari refers to Radha, and this becomes a Sambhog mantra with a desire to unify Radha and Krishna. Krishna being known, identified by his names, Krishna and Ram. And of course, Prabhupada is speaking about this, also said that sometimes that he thinks of the name of Ram as referring to Balaram. That's also possible. So what is the meaning? Chant and find out. Some meaning will come to you. And chant, we should chant to hear. It's one thing we can have a visualization, like as given in the, I mentioned, in the Samhita. We see the form of the deity. We can think of the form of the deity and chant. And sometimes someone will go over the prayers of Shastakam in their mind while chanting and so forth. And there's something to be said for combining smaranam with kirtanam, japa in this case. But the form of Krishna and the visualization that you read about that you will be able to put together in your mind will not be the same as that form and that visualization that comes out of actually hearing the name. It's not a bad thing, it's a good thing, it's recommended, you have to absorb the mind. But when you can actually hear the name, then you will see the form in a way that transcends or exceeds the ability of the mind to conceptualize it, because if that form is beyond the limits of the mind to conceptualize. So when we really combine, if you will, meditation with chanting, that is a meditation that's a result of the chanting in the fullest sense. There are more rudimentary forms of meditation, from smaranam to pratyahar to dharana, dhyan, dhruvana smriti, samadhi. Jiva Goswami has gone through these in Bhakti Sandarbha. Some of them are applicable to sadhana, some are a result of success or graduating from, like dhyan in the full sense, dhruvana smriti, dhruvana smriti and samadhi at least, let's say. These are a result of the effective practice. Others can, obviously, to try to focus the mind on Krishna as best you can, we should. But I just want to, and I'll close with this point, emphasize, if you can actually hear the name, just hear the name, with no other thought, then in due course, then you will see the mind, that then beyond the limits of the mind, the form, the qualities, and the Leela of Krishna will make its appearance in your life. So in this way, I hope this is helpful to all of you. The net result should be that you have such a retreat and talks by Swami Padmanabha and others, and myself, would be that we are compelled to take to heart the japa of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Mahamantra ki jai. Any question?
Before we take a question, can I just make an announcement? Because I wanted to have the most number of people on here still. Just a quick announcement that on Thursday, it's Ram Navami, and Guru Maharaj will be giving class at 11 o'clock his time. So You have to calibrate that or calculate your time to get on. And then
California time.
California time, yeah, thank you. And then Friday evening, Padmanabha Swami is going to start another series of classes, and it's going to be on the Gora Astak Kalya Leela. So that will be starting at 6 p.m. in the evening, and we'll confirm that the class is happening on Shri Chaitanya Sangha. So those two announcements I wanted to make, and everybody will come back at 4 o'clock this afternoon for the concluding part of our retreat. So,
Okay.
anybody have questions for Gumaraj?
I have a question.
Okay, go for it.
Is it me? Dhanva Pranams, Maharaj. I have a question about, and thank you for all your teaching. It's been amazing. Chanting with the finger of the ring or the middle finger. So I was told by various credible Vaishnava authority teachers like yourself to chant on my ring finger, but I was also taught by many to chant on my middle finger too. So what are the quality differences in this?
Not the ring finger. He might have, I don't remember saying that, but the middle finger. And the point is not the first finger, because that's used typically for so many other things.
Mm. Okay, so never the ring finger.
Not the ring finger, no. Middle finger and the thumb.
Interesting. Okay, I'm more acclimated towards that. So
Okay.
yes. Thank you so much, Swami.
This way we engage the tactile sense, also touching the sacred Tulsi.
Thank you very much. We'll go with it. Hare Krishna.
You and one of the gods, both. Hare Krishna.
Dandavat pranams.
Any other questions?
I got a question.
Venera?
I got a question. I just wanted a little bit of clarification. You were talking about Brahma offending Lord Krishna, and of course the name staying with him in spite of the form departing. So is his offense happened? Is that by stealing the cowherd boys and the calves? Is that how he offended the form of Krishna?
Gumaraj is muted. Archana.
Oh, how did that happen? Okay, you're unmuted.
As I explained, he saw the form of Krishna dressed as a gopa at the dawn of creation, and from him he received the Gopal mantra. But there, Krishna was sitting in a lotus posture and holding his hand in the Gyan Mudra and conducting himself in ways that Brahma could relate to in terms of a teacher who should set an example by what they do and so forth. Whereas when we saw the form of Krishna in Vrindavan, Krishna was acting in ways that a teacher shouldn't act. And so in his mind, he thought maybe this is an imposter. So this way he made a offense to the form of Krishna. Then, of course, he extended the offense by trying to kidnap the calves and the boys and so forth. But it was his mental idea that who is this? Maybe this is someone imitating my guru. And in this way, he made some subtle and slight offense to the form of Krishna. What else?
Dandavat Guru Maharaj, I have a question.
Okay.
You mentioned that there are some people in Vaikuntha who have no rasa. Who would these be?
Well, Jiva Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that those who engage in bhakti mixed with karma, doing bhakti in connection with things like sacrifices, Ashwamedha Yajna in particular, he mentions, they can also attain bhakti by Kama Mishra Bhakti. So there's no question of rasa there. And then again, there are those who go there, who have a desire to go there for the perks, as I refer to them. I want to live on the same planet. I want to have a body like Krishna, like Narayan. So let's say I want to have Aishvarya like Narayan. I want to have a form like Narayan. That desire is such that you're not going to get rasa out of a harboring and a cultivating of that desire. So you can get it, but bhakti rasa is at least according to Rupa Goswami's explanation, is a different thing altogether, different motivation and so forth. So it's peculiar. I mean, because we are influenced by samskars for Goloka, and that's our whole conception of what spiritual attainment is like, and it's a very high ideal and so forth. So when we hear that you could attain Vaikuntha by lower ideals, it doesn't compute that well. But this is what our acharyas have taught. I've recently tried to enter into a discussion with some devotees of the Ramanuja Sampradaya in terms of. So I was thinking of writing a book about heaven. The different conceptions of heaven. In this case, Vaikuntha being the heaven of the Vaishnavas. And so the Gaudias have a pretty interesting description of different possibilities in Vaikuntha. Living there in meditation, never seeing the form of Narayan externally, only in meditation, living in Vaikuntha as a meditator. Even in Shantaras, the beatific vision, with no interest in the qualities, the leelas of the Lord and so forth. Different degrees of penetration into transcendence, with Samipya being Dasyaras, obviously personal attendant of Narayan, being more thought of as more desirable, more elevated than Salokya, or just to live on the planet of God. Well, it's one thing to live on the planet of God, another live in the United States, another thing to be part of the president's cabinet, or family. So to give that example to help understand, you would think that other than Samipya, the best that you would find would be Shantarasa. And then apparently, according to the Gaudiyas, gradations even within Vaikuntha that are lower than that, if you will. I mean, they're all perfect in a sense. But yeah, you're not going to go to Goloka like that. So I'm trying to draw from the Ramanujas. What is your idea? What are the possibilities in Vaikuntha? Brihad Bhagavatamrita describes those in Dasyaras changing their form, staying in the same rasa, changing their form relative to what may be needed for the moment, for the pleasure of Narayan, appearing as a bird, appearing as a tree, and so forth. And I'm not finding that, interestingly enough, the Ramanujas, with their focus on Vaikuntha only, to the exclusion of Goloka, have as much of a nuanced understanding of the possibilities of Vaikuntha as that which we find in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. But I'm still trying to draw out from them something. It's an interesting book. I mean, The Nature of Heaven. Does that help?
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Yes, thank you.
All right. Anything else?
Guru Maharaj?
Yes.
That's in relation to what you answered to Brigu. So we could say that for entering Vaikuntha, you need Prem, Vaikuntha Prem, but that not necessarily mean to have rasa. That would be
Prem.
Not even Prem.
No.
Okay.
Somebody says some persons are there on the basis of prem, and they accept the perks as a byproduct.
Mhm.
Some people are there only for the byproducts. So the implication would be that they don't have prem.
Mm.
They have mukti,
Mm.
but they don't have prem. They've got taraka, brahmanam, and sometimes they chant Mahamantra for that purpose.
Mm.
So yeah, very interesting.
Mm.
Guru Vakya? Guru Vakya has a question.
Pranam, Guru Maharaj. You were talking about this prarabdha karma, and you were talking about this about how Brahma achieved success as Haridas Thakur, and so this means you said that he entered the Leela. So, is it like and still we have Brahma as the one supervisor, you know, as the one in charge of the universe, and so how is that, you know, how we to understand that?
Someone else took his place.
Oh, okay.
Just like the reverse of that, we find Gopakumar took the place of Brahma for a while. And then he moved on, right? So
we've got a different Brahma as a result of Leela, Gaur Leela.
yeah. Yeah, you can, different persons can attain, you can attain the position of Brahma through karma, through jnana, or through bhakti also. But, you know, it's a post. So someone can attain a post, someone can, our particular Brahma is extraordinary circumstances, right? Brahma Vimohan Leela, and what happened to him and so forth. So that's part of his trajectory. But even if, and sometimes it's said that if the post of Brahma is vacated for some reason, Vishnu may take the post for a while until he brings somebody else there. So that's the way to think about it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so I think we talked for quite some time. I appreciate all of your presence here and opportunity to speak with you and your questions. And I guess I'll see some of you, most of you, hopefully on Ram Navami next Thursday. Ram Nam Ki Jai.
Jai.
Both.
Hare Bol.